Throughout history, the Stoics, masters of human behavior and psychology, have understood the intricacies of relationships, especially when it comes to women. They recognized that female desire, when fully understood, holds the key to deeper emotional and physical connections. In today's episode, we're diving straight into 7 techniques that most men are completely unaware of when it comes to igniting her G-spot. These methods will transform how you approach intimacy, making sure both you and your partner experience pleasure on a whole new level. Stick around till the end to catch all 7 techniques, and don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share your own story if you've got one. Now, let's dive in and uncover the secrets to mastering G-spot stimulation. Chapter 1: Windshield Wipers. The first technique to master when it comes to G-spot stimulation is the aptly named windshield wipers. Picture the smooth, rhythmic movement of windshield wipers on a rainy day. This is the kind of motion you'll be using with your finger to ignite her G-spot. The beauty of this technique lies in its simplicity, yet when executed correctly, it can lead to profound sensations and heightened arousal. Begin by locating the G-spot, which is typically found about 1 to 2 inches inside the vaginal wall, on the front side, just behind the pubic bone. The texture of the G-spot differs slightly from the surrounding area. It feels a bit rougher or spongier. For those new to this, it's important to keep in mind that the G-spot is not a button that automatically triggers pleasure. Instead, it requires attentive stimulation to awaken its full potential. Once you've found the G-spot, lubricate your finger to ensure smooth and comfortable movement. You'll be using a back and forth motion over the G-spot, similar to how windshield wipers glide across a windshield. The movement should be steady, consistent, and deliberate, neither too fast nor too slow. The key to success with this technique is tenderness and rhythm, which allows her body to respond naturally to the increasing stimulation. As you apply the windshield wiper motion, avoid the temptation to speed things up too quickly. Unlike other erogenous zones, the G-spot responds best to gradual stimulation. You want to build anticipation, allowing her arousal to grow with each pass of your finger. It's not about rushing to an orgasm, but rather about awakening the full range of sensation that the G-spot can offer. Slow and steady truly wins the race in this case. The back and forth movement is designed to spread out the stimulation, covering a broader area of the G-spot and creating a rhythmic build-up of pleasure. Just as windshield wipers methodically clear away the rain, your touch methodically clears away distractions, drawing her focus to the growing sensations inside her body. With each pass of your finger, her body becomes more attuned to the pleasure, gradually preparing for deeper and more intense stimulation. What makes this technique especially powerful is its ability to create both relaxation and excitement simultaneously. The consistent, rhythmic motion soothes her into a state of comfort and relaxation, while the tender pressure ignites her arousal. This combination sets the stage for a more profound sexual experience, one that is deeply satisfying both physically and emotionally. Another important aspect of the windshield wiper technique is the way it allows for subtle adjustments. As her body begins to respond, you can adjust the pressure, speed, and angle of your touch based on her reactions. Some women may prefer a lighter touch in the beginning, with the pressure gradually increasing as their arousal builds. Others may respond best to a consistent level of firmness from the start. The key is to stay attuned to her body language and verbal feedback. If she's moaning, arching her back, or pressing her hips towards your hand, you're on the right track. As you continue the windshield wiper motion, don't forget to check in with her regularly. While the G-spot can produce intense pleasure, it can also be sensitive to overstimulation. If she starts to feel too much pressure or discomfort, ease up and return to a lighter touch. This communication, whether verbal or non-verbal, is essential for ensuring that the experience remains pleasurable and enjoyable for her. The windshield wiper technique also serves as an excellent warm-up for more advanced G-spot stimulation techniques. Once her arousal is heightened and she's fully in tune with the sensations you're providing, you can begin to introduce other methods that build on the foundation you've laid. For example, after several minutes of windshield wiper movements, you might pause and apply gentle pressure directly to the G-spot, allowing her to savor the sensation before resuming the back and forth motion. This technique not only awakens the G-spot but also helps to establish a connection between partners. By focusing on slow, rhythmic movements, you demonstrate care and attentiveness, which can deepen emotional intimacy as well as physical pleasure. The act of moving your finger in a way that mirrors her body's needs creates a mutual understanding of what feels good and what brings her the most satisfaction. Ultimately, the windshield wiper technique is all about creating a sense of build-up and anticipation. It's a slow burn that leads to a more intense and satisfying climax, rather than a quick, fleeting moment of pleasure. When executed with care and patience, this method can unlock new levels of G-spot stimulation that many men and women may have never experienced before. For men, the windshield wiper technique offers a way to take control of the pace of the encounter while still prioritizing her pleasure. It's about guiding her to the edge of ecstasy, one slow, deliberate movement at a time. And by maintaining a steady rhythm, you help create a sense of trust and security that allows her to relax into the experience, knowing that you are fully attuned to her needs. In conclusion, the windshield wiper technique is a foundational method for igniting the G-spot and setting the stage for deeper intimacy. By using slow, rhythmic back and forth movements, you can help her build anticipation and excitement while staying attuned to her body's cues. With practice and attentiveness, this technique can transform your intimate moments and open the door to a more profound and satisfying sexual experience for both of you. Chapter 2. Apply pressure and hold still. While the windshield wiper technique relies on steady movement, this next approach emphasizes stillness and the power of anticipation. Apply pressure and hold still is all about creating a contrast between motion and stillness, making each sensation stand out more vividly. This method is particularly effective for the G-spot, as it highlights the sensitivity of this erogenous zone in a unique way. Start by locating the G-spot as mentioned in the previous chapter. Once you've found the right spot, apply gentle but firm pressure using 1 or 2 fingers. However, instead of moving your fingers back and forth or in circles, hold them completely still. The goal here is to let her body respond to the pressure without you creating any movement. This may sound counterintuitive. After all, we often think that constant movement is what creates pleasure, but the magic of this technique lies in the build-up of tension. By applying pressure and holding still, you're allowing her body to focus solely on the sensation of your touch. Her awareness of the G-spot heightens, and the anticipation of what comes next starts to build. This creates an almost electric charge of excitement as her body prepares for whatever stimulation may follow. It's important to note that the pressure you apply should be firm but not uncomfortable. Too much force can cause discomfort, while too little pressure might not be stimulating enough. You want to find that sweet spot where the pressure feels grounding and arousing, allowing her to fully sink into the sensation. While holding still, keep an eye on her body language. If she arches her back, moans softly, or starts breathing more deeply, you're likely on the right track. This technique may not immediately lead to a climax, but it helps to build anticipation in a way that makes the final release all the more powerful. Stillness also has a psychological component. When you stop moving and simply apply pressure, it shifts the focus from you actively creating pleasure to her experiencing it on her own terms. This can be incredibly empowering for her, as she's able to take control of how the sensation builds within her body. She may even start moving her hips or contracting her muscles in response to the pressure, which enhances the connection between you both. The power of this technique lies in its ability to create a contrast. Once you've applied pressure and held still for a while, even the slightest movement afterward feels more intense. You can follow up this period of stillness with the windshield wiper technique or by gently pulsing your fingers in place. The shift from stillness to motion can feel like a wave of pleasure sweeping through her body, making each movement feel more amplified. From a psychological standpoint, the brain's reward system plays a crucial role here. When anticipation builds, the eventual payoff becomes even more satisfying. This is because her brain is flooded with dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for feelings of pleasure and reward. By holding still and applying pressure, you're giving her brain the time to build up those dopamine levels, ensuring that when you finally do start moving again, the sensations are far more intense than they would have been otherwise. For men, this technique requires a certain level of patience and restraint. It's easy to want to keep moving, especially when you're eager to see her reaction. However, the key to this method's success is your ability to hold back and let her body take the lead. By focusing on the stillness, you're allowing her to guide the experience, which not only increases her pleasure but also deepens the emotional connection between you. In conclusion, the apply pressure and hold still technique is an incredibly effective way to stimulate the G-spot. It emphasizes the power of anticipation, allowing her body to focus entirely on the sensation of pressure. By holding still and applying the right amount of force, you create a contrast that makes every subsequent movement feel even more intense. This method is not just about physical pleasure, it's about creating a psychological buildup that heightens her arousal and makes the final release all the more satisfying. The third technique in our exploration of G-spot pleasure is called pounding or palpation. Now, don't let the name mislead you. This is not about being rough or aggressive. Instead, it's a method focused on creating rhythmic, gentle taps or pulses on the G-spot that generate deep, penetrating sensations. By combining subtle movement with consistent pressure, this technique can enhance the overall experience, intensifying the buildup of pleasure and leading to more powerful, satisfying orgasms. To begin, as always, locate the G-spot, which is typically about 1 to 2 inches inside the front wall of the vagina. Make sure your fingers are lubricated for ease and comfort. Once you've found the spot, use 1 or 2 fingers to gently tap or palpate the G-spot. Start with light, controlled taps, almost as if you're testing her sensitivity. These light taps are just a warm-up to introduce her body to the sensation, allowing it to build slowly. As her arousal increases, gradually increase the firmness and frequency of the taps, though always keeping it within her comfort zone. The key here is creating a steady, rhythmic tapping motion that mimics a pounding sensation but is never too forceful or overwhelming. What makes this method effective is the G-spot's unique responsiveness to direct, repetitive pressure. The G-spot is an area that thrives on consistent stimulation, and the tapping or pounding motion plays directly into this. Unlike other areas that respond to gentle caresses or softer touch, the G-spot awakens and intensifies with rhythmic, firm taps. Each tap sends a small, yet noticeable wave of pleasure through her body, building upon the previous one, gradually escalating her arousal to new heights. One of the standout features of the pounding technique is its ability to create a sense of deep, internal massage. The tapping motion penetrates the layers of tissue around the G-spot, stimulating not only the surface, but also the deeper muscles and tissue surrounding the pelvic floor. This deeper level of stimulation can trigger powerful, almost overwhelming orgasms, as it engages the pelvic muscles and tissues in a way that softer techniques may not reach. The feeling of this internal massage is not only physically pleasurable, but can also induce a sense of grounding and release, helping her to let go of tension and fully embrace the experience. As you proceed, it's crucial to stay tuned into her responses. Every woman's preferences are different, so you'll want to pay attention to the signals her body gives you. Some women might prefer slower, more deliberate tapping, while others may respond better to faster, more vigorous movements. The beauty of the pounding technique is its adaptability. You can easily adjust the speed, intensity, and rhythm based on her feedback to ensure that the experience remains pleasurable and not overwhelming. As always, communication is essential. Encourage her to let you know if she wants more or less intensity so that you can adjust accordingly. For added variety and to enhance the experience, consider combining the pounding technique with other methods like the windshield wipers or circles. For example, after several minutes of rhythmic tapping, pause for a moment and hold your fingers still, allowing her body to absorb the sensation and build anticipation before resuming the taps. This stop-start rhythm can create a wave-like effect that makes the pleasure feel even more intense. Another option is to alternate between tapping and circular motions, providing a mix of sensations that keeps her body guessing and fully engaged. This blend of pounding and stillness can give her body time to savor each sensation, making the overall experience feel more varied and dynamic. The pounding technique is not just about physical stimulation, it can also heighten the emotional connection between you and your partner. As her arousal builds through the rhythmic tapping, she may become more in tune with her body, allowing her to relax and let go, enhancing the overall intimacy of the moment. When done with care and attention, this method can create a deeper bond between you, as she feels more connected and understood by you through the way you're responding to her needs. In conclusion, the pounding, or palpation, technique offers a unique way to provide deeper, more intense G-spot stimulation. By using rhythmic, gentle taps, you can engage the G-spot in a way that feels both grounding and exciting, creating waves of pleasure that build gradually and lead to a more powerful, satisfying orgasm. When combined with other techniques or movements, the pounding method can offer a dynamic, varied experience that keeps her fully engaged, enhancing both the physical and emotional connection between you. As with all intimate techniques, the key is communication and attentiveness, ensuring that her pleasure is always the priority. With practice, this method can become a powerful tool in creating more satisfying, intimate experiences for both partners. Chapter 4: Circles. The fourth technique in mastering G-spot pleasure is known as circles, and it's all about creating a dynamic, continuous flow of sensation that covers every part of the G-spot. Unlike other techniques that may focus on one area, the circles method engages the entire sensitive region, ensuring no part goes unnoticed. This combination of movement and pressure creates a unique experience that builds arousal in a rhythmic, varied way. To begin, as always, start by locating the G-spot, which is typically about 1 to 2 inches inside the vaginal wall on the front side. Once you've found the right spot, use 2 fingers to initiate a gentle come here motion, curling your fingers toward yourself while keeping them pressed firmly against the G-spot. As you perform this motion, add a layer of complexity by incorporating circular movements. The idea is to not only stimulate the G-spot with the back and forth motion, but to enhance the sensation by creating a consistent, flowing pattern that moves around the entire area. The beauty of the circular technique lies in its ability to stimulate multiple parts of the G-spot at once. Each pass of your fingers covers a different section, so rather than focusing on one spot, you're engaging the whole area in a seamless, continuous motion. This makes the sensation feel more varied, which can be incredibly pleasurable for women who enjoy a more dynamic form of stimulation. The consistency of the circles ensures that the pleasure builds slowly and steadily, while the variety of angles adds an element of surprise and excitement. As you perform the circular motions, it's crucial to pay close attention to how she responds. Every woman is different, and what works for one may not work for another. Some women might prefer slow, deliberate circles that allow the sensations to linger, while others may enjoy faster, more vigorous movements that build intensity quickly. You can experiment with the speed, pressure, and size of the circles to find out what works best for her. The goal is to stay attuned to her body's reactions, whether that's her breathing, moaning, or physical movements, and adjust the technique accordingly to maximize her pleasure. Beyond the physical stimulation, the circular motion has psychological benefits as well. The repetition of the movement creates a sense of rhythm that can be deeply relaxing and immersive. As her body becomes more attuned to the continuous flow of sensation, her mind is likely to enter a state of heightened arousal and focus. This can lead to a more profound emotional and physical connection, as she lets go of distractions and fully embraces the experience. The consistency of the movement can also help her feel more in control of her pleasure, allowing her to direct how much or how little intensity she wants to experience at any given moment. One of the advantages of the circles technique is that it can be adapted and combined with other methods. For instance, after several minutes of circular motions, you might switch to a more focused technique like the double tap or windshield wipers to create a new sensation and keep the experience fresh. Alternatively, you can vary the size of the circles, starting with small, concentrated movements and gradually expanding to larger circles that cover more surface area. This variation adds a layer of unpredictability that many women find exciting and pleasurable, as it prevents the stimulation from becoming too repetitive. As you continue to explore this technique, don't be afraid to communicate with your partner about what feels good for her. Open dialogue is key to making any sexual experience satisfying, and the circles method is no exception. Encourage her to let you know if she wants more pressure, faster movements, or even a combination of techniques. The more you fine-tune your approach based on her preferences, the more likely you are to create an experience that is not only physically pleasurable, but also emotionally fulfilling. In conclusion, the circles technique offers a versatile and highly effective way to stimulate the G-spot by combining the come-here emotion with circular movements that cover the entire area. This method creates a continuous flow of sensation that feels varied, dynamic, and exciting. By staying attuned to her body's cues and experimenting with different speeds and pressures, you can tailor the experience to her unique desires. When performed with care and attention, the circles technique can lead to profound levels of arousal and satisfaction, making it a valuable addition to any intimate repertoire. Chapter 5: The Squeeze. The fifth technique in our exploration of G-spot stimulation is called the squeeze. This method is all about leveraging the power of tension and release to build her arousal to an intense crescendo. By applying firm pressure to the G-spot and then releasing it at just the right moments, you create a rhythm that elevates her sensations with every cycle. The G-spot responds beautifully to this technique because it blends steady, direct stimulation with moments of respite, making the eventual release of pleasure even more explosive and satisfying. To perform the squeeze, begin by locating the G-spot, positioned about 1 to 2 inches inside the front wall of the vagina. Using 1 or 2 lubricated fingers, press firmly against the G-spot, applying direct pressure. Hold this squeeze for a few seconds, allowing her body to fully register the sensation. Once you've held the pressure long enough to build tension, abruptly release it. Give her a brief moment to enjoy the sensation of relief before you apply pressure again. The key here is timing. Each time you squeeze and release, you're orchestrating a wave of sensations that will grow stronger as her arousal increases. With each cycle of squeezing and releasing, extend the duration of the pressure just a little longer than the last time. By gradually increasing the length of the squeeze, you amplify the tension within her body, pushing her to greater heights of anticipation. Likewise, as the pauses between the squeezes become slightly longer, you give her body time to appreciate the contrast between tension and relaxation. This interplay creates a rhythm that mimics the natural process of building up and releasing arousal. The brief moments of rest between the squeezes act as a reset, so when the pressure is applied again, it feels even more intense. What makes the squeeze technique particularly effective is its ability to let her fully sink into the sensations without overwhelming her. Constant, rapid movement or relentless stimulation can sometimes be too much, but with this method, you're giving her body a chance to process and revel in each wave of pleasure. The breaks in between squeezes allow her to reset, making the next application of pressure even more impactful. Her body will begin to anticipate the next squeeze, and this sense of expectation can build her arousal to a fever pitch, driving her desire and making the sensations feel even more powerful. From a psychological perspective, the squeeze taps into the brain's natural pleasure reward system. The cycles of tension and release stimulate this system in a way that keeps her wanting more. Each time you apply pressure, her brain registers it as a buildup of pleasure, and the subsequent release becomes even more rewarding. This creates a feedback loop where her brain learns to associate the increasing tension with the eventual flood of satisfaction. As you continue, her arousal grows, and the feeling of relief becomes sweeter with every squeeze. It's almost like teasing her body into deeper levels of pleasure, building anticipation so that each cycle of pressure feels more rewarding than the last. Another advantage of this technique is its adaptability. Every woman has unique preferences when it comes to pace and intensity, so it's crucial to pay attention to her reactions. Some women may prefer a slower, more deliberate rhythm, savoring each squeeze like a slow burn, while others might respond better to a quicker, more intense cycle of pressure and release. By staying in tune with her body's signals, whether they come in the form of her breathing, moans, or movements, you can adjust the pace to match her desires and keep the experience pleasurable. Don't hesitate to combine the squeeze with other techniques for a more varied and immersive experience. For instance, you can integrate it with the windshield wipers technique, alternating between squeezing and the slow, back and forth motion, or pair it with pounding to create a rhythm that shifts between tapping and pressing. These combinations can add layers of sensation, making her experience richer and more dynamic. When used thoughtfully, this technique opens the door for endless possibilities, giving her body the chance to explore new peaks of arousal. The physical effects of the squeeze are profound, but its emotional benefits shouldn't be overlooked. The steady, controlled application of pressure gives her something to focus on, helping her stay fully present in the moment. This grounding effect can enhance her sense of emotional connection to you, deepening the intimacy and trust between you. As she feels more secure and relaxed, her arousal will naturally deepen, and the pleasure she experiences will feel even more intense and satisfying. Ultimately, the squeeze is a powerful method that leverages the art of tension and release to generate waves of intense pleasure. By alternating between firm pressure and moments of relaxation, you allow her body to build anticipation, heightening her arousal with each cycle. This technique not only stimulates her physically but also engages her mentally, creating a more immersive and rewarding experience. When done with care and attention, the squeeze can be a transformative tool for deepening both physical pleasure and emotional connection. Chapter 6: The Wave. Next up is a technique I like to call the wave, where you create a rolling sensation by using your fingers to make wave-like motions on the G-spot. Much like a wave in the ocean, this technique aims to create a continuous, rippling effect that gently builds arousal without overwhelming her senses. The wave technique is all about rhythm and fluidity, allowing the pleasure to come in gentle yet steady surges. To perform the wave technique, start by inserting 1 or 2 fingers and finding the G-spot as before. Instead of pressing or tapping, use your fingers to make a smooth, undulating motion. Imagine your fingers are riding a gentle wave, moving up and down in a rhythmic, fluid manner. The motion should be continuous but not too fast, allowing her body to gradually adjust to the sensation. This technique is particularly effective because it engages the G-spot in a way that feels both natural and soothing. Unlike more aggressive methods, the wave technique creates a sense of relaxation while still building arousal. The steady motion mimics the feeling of being rocked gently, which can be incredibly calming and arousing at the same time. The key to making this technique work is maintaining a consistent rhythm. Like the ebb and flow of a tide, your finger should move in a continuous, fluid motion that never feels rushed or jerky. This allows her body to fully embrace the sensation and sink deeper into the experience. You can experiment with different speeds and intensities, but always keep the motion smooth and rhythmic. One of the psychological benefits of this technique is that it helps her feel more in control of the experience. Because the motion is gentle and predictable, she can easily anticipate what's coming next, which allows her to relax and enjoy the sensation. The wave technique also has a hypnotic quality, drawing her into the moment and helping her focus solely on the pleasure building inside her. This technique is particularly well suited for longer sessions of stimulation, as it allows her to stay aroused without reaching climax too quickly. The gentle, rolling motion keeps her at a heightened state of arousal without pushing her over the edge. This makes the wave technique ideal for building anticipation and creating a slow, steady build-up to orgasm. For men, mastering the wave technique requires patience and finesse. It's important to keep the motion fluid and gentle without applying too much pressure or moving too quickly. The goal is to create a continuous sensation that feels soothing and pleasurable, allowing her to fully immerse herself in the experience. In conclusion, the wave is a gentle yet powerful technique that creates a rippling sensation on the G-spot. By maintaining a fluid, rhythmic motion, you can build her arousal gradually, creating a sense of relaxation and anticipation. This technique is perfect for longer sessions of stimulation, as it allows her to stay aroused without becoming overwhelmed. When done correctly, the wave technique can lead to deep, satisfying orgasms that feel like the culmination of a slow, steady build-up of pleasure. Chapter 7: The Double Tap. The final technique in our exploration of G-spot stimulation is the powerful double tap. This method stands out for its ability to provide rhythmic, intense stimulation by using 2 fingers to tap directly on the G-spot, creating a heightened, pulsating sensation. When a woman is already in a state of high arousal, this technique can push her over the edge into deep, satisfying pleasure, making it an essential tool for anyone seeking to amplify intimacy. To perform the double tap effectively, start by inserting 2 fingers, typically the middle and index fingers, inside the vagina, with the pads of your fingers pressing firmly against the G-spot. As you press against the sensitive area, begin with small, rhythmic taps, using both fingers in unison. The key is maintaining a steady pace that builds anticipation. The tapping should start gently, allowing her body to adjust to the rhythm, and then increase in intensity as her arousal deepens. What makes the double tap so effective is the dual pressure applied to the G-spot. By using 2 fingers instead of 1, you engage more surface area, intensifying the sensation. The consistent rhythmic tapping sends waves of pleasure throughout her body, creating a heightened sense of awareness and connection to the stimulation. This technique works especially well when a woman is already very aroused, as her sensitivity will be at its peak and the G-spot will be primed for deeper, more intense sensations. As always, communication is essential. You need to stay in tune with her body's responses and listen carefully to both verbal and nonverbal cues. Some women might crave a faster, more aggressive tapping motion as they near orgasm, while others may prefer the sensation to remain slow and steady. The versatility of the double tap allows you to adjust the speed, rhythm, and intensity according to her preferences, ensuring that the experience feels personalized and deeply satisfying. From a psychological perspective, the double tap taps into the brain's reward system. The repetitive nature of the tapping creates a pattern of anticipation that heightens the body's pleasure response. As the sensation builds, the brain releases dopamine and other feel-good chemicals, making the experience feel even more rewarding. The rhythmic tapping can create a sense of urgency, leading to an almost overwhelming climax that feels like a release of built-up tension and excitement. The intensity of this technique is not just physical, but emotional as well. As you maintain eye contact or other forms of connection while using the double tap, you can create a shared moment of intimacy that brings you both closer. This emotional connection, combined with the physical pleasure, can lead to more powerful, connected orgasms that deepen the bond between partners. In conclusion, the double tap is a highly effective method for engaging the G-spot with rhythmic, pulsing sensations that build in intensity as arousal grows. Using 2 fingers to tap simultaneously on the G-spot allows for greater surface area stimulation, making the pleasure feel more all-encompassing. By adjusting the speed and intensity based on her responses, you can customize the experience, leading to powerful, explosive orgasms. This technique, when used with care and attention, can take intimacy to new heights, creating a deeply satisfying experience for both partners. That wraps up our deep dive into the 7 powerful techniques to ignite her G-spot. By now, you've learned how the windshield wipers, apply pressure and hold still, pounding, circles, the squeeze, the wave, and a double tap can completely transform your intimate experiences. These aren't just mechanical actions, they are ways to connect on a deeper level, bringing you closer both physically and emotionally. Remember, the key to mastering these techniques isn't just about learning the moves, it's about paying close attention to her reactions, communicating openly, and creating an environment of trust and relaxation. The G-spot is an incredibly sensitive area, and when stimulated properly, it can lead to intense, pleasurable, and unforgettable experiences. Every woman is different, so experimenting with these techniques and adjusting them to her unique preferences is essential to building a deeply satisfying connection. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who could use some insight into female psychology and pleasure. And if you have a story, experience, or even another technique that worked for you, drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more episodes where we dive deeper into the secrets of intimacy and the psychology of attraction. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring and deepening your connection with your partner.